Renegade Immortal Episode 69. Wang Lin and Immortal King Shihu were exploring an immortal cave, but unexpectedly, they found nothing of value inside. Not only that, but they also attracted the attention of a notorious old monster, Zhou Yi. Previously, on their journey to the immortal cave, Wang Lin, who was meditating with his eyes closed, suddenly opened them. Through his soul sense, he spotted a floating object several meters in size. Its surface shimmered with a purple-gold light. Indeed, what he saw was the golden stone, a material for crafting a new compass. If Wang Lin hadn't seen the new compass with his own eyes, he might not have been so intensely interested in this golden stone. After careful consideration, Wang Lin headed straight for the location of the golden stone. Faced with this large, alluring piece of golden stone, Wang Lin quickly stored it in his storage pouch. Back at the compass, when Shihu inquired about his findings, Wang Lin simply smiled. He didn't reveal what he had obtained. After more than a month of meticulous searching, they hadn't found any valuable materials. However, as the compass flew through the void, it suddenly began to tremble violently. Immediately afterward, cracks quickly spread across the compass. At the same time, a powerful resistance suddenly erupted, throwing the three of them off the compass. Clearly, the new compass had been severely damaged when it was struck by the void earlier. Unable to continue flying with the new compass, they had no choice but to rely on their own magical powers to travel. Fortunately, their destination wasn't far. Traveling at full speed, they could reach it in about 3 days. Wang Lin saw a desolate land in the distance covered in craters, and above the land were crisscrossing spatial rifts. Shihu landed on this land. He lowered his head in thought, his divine sense spreading out like a net as if searching for a specific location. Wang Lin spoke, "Brother Shihu, the place recorded in the Imperial Jade Slip is where the fragments overlap. But I wonder which layer of the world we are in." Hong Dai, who had been silent for days, finally spoke, her voice soft. "Naturally, the second layer. This place is a fragment of the immortal realm. It's rare to have 2 layers overlap." Unexpectedly, Wang Lin uttered those 2 words again, ignorant. Hong Dai, the proud daughter of the Snow region, a late-stage soul formation cultivator, had been called ignorant twice in a row. A flicker of killing intent flashed in her eyes. Seeing that the two were about to fight, Shihu quickly intervened. "Calm down, Hong Dai's words are not entirely baseless. This is indeed the second layer. But my ancestors speculated that there might be a 3rd layer beneath this." Wang Lin wasn't too concerned about Hong Dai because in his heart he had a strange feeling that someone had been secretly observing their actions. This feeling wasn't based on cultivation, but rather his years of honed instincts from a life of killing. Soon, a look of joy appeared on Shihu's face. "This is it. The plum blossom mark my ancestor left here all those years ago." Shihu jumped into the pit without hesitation. Hong Dai glanced at Wang Lin and followed closely behind. However, shortly after the 3 entered the cave, a middle-aged man holding a gourd appeared by the pit. A pagoda appeared in his hand out of thin air. The body of a woman in white flew out again, and he held her tightly. Meanwhile, an inexplicable resistance caused Wang Lin and the other 2 to feel an unprecedented pressure. Hong Dai said, "Shihu, if you can't give me a satisfactory explanation, I will not let this go." Wang Lin looked around. Although not as furious as Hong Dai, he felt a mix of emotions. The cave before them was empty. There was nothing there. Shihu stood frozen. Muttering to himself, he questioned, "What's going on?" He wondered, could it be that someone really discovered this place before us and took the treasures? He shook his head bitterly and turned to Wang Lin and Hong Dai, who were searching around. He addressed them, "I was negligent this time, you two. I didn't expect this outcome." Hong Dai was enraged. She glared at Shihu, her voice cold and firm. "Can a single word of negligence compensate for everything I've lost? Shihu, I suspect you already knew about this place and deliberately used me. If you don't give me a satisfactory answer today, don't blame me, Hong Dai, for disregarding our past." Wang Lin remained calm. He carefully searched every corner. Finally, his gaze landed on the bottomless pool. He observed it carefully, trying to find some clues. Hearing Hong Dai's accusations, Chi-Hu's face darkened. But he suppressed his anger and said in a deep voice, "Hong Dai, I will give you a satisfactory explanation for this matter. But please believe me, I absolutely had no intention of using you. As the young patriarch of the giant devil clan, although not as precious as you, I am a man of my word." Hong Dai sneered and was about to continue her questioning, but Wang Lin suddenly spoke. "Chi-Hu, you mentioned that there's a third layer here, right?" Chi-Hu was taken aback, then nodded and turned to Wang Lin. Wang Lin's gaze fell upon the pool. If there really is a third layer, then this place is likely the entrance to it. But at that moment, a figure suddenly descended from the passage above. He flashed before Wang Lin and the others and landed steadily above the pool. A powerful aura erupted from his body. Chi-Hu's face instantly paled. Blood sprayed from his mouth. At the same time, he was thrown backward by the force. Seeing this, Hong Dai quickly retreated, surprise filling her eyes. Wang Lin remained highly vigilant. She had already sensed someone following them. So, the moment the figure appeared, she retreated simultaneously. The man who suddenly appeared glanced at Wang Lin, then took a large gulp from his gourd. Chi-Hu cried out, "5 elements, Zhou-Yi." The middle-aged man smiled faintly. "Little one from the giant devil clan, you know me?" When Hong Dai heard the name Zhou-Yi, her expression changed instantly, a hint of disgust flashing in her eyes. Chi-Hu hastily bowed respectfully. "Junior Chi-Hu of the giant devil clan, greets Senior." Senior's name has been familiar to this junior since childhood. As the young patriarch of the giant devil clan, he had received special training since he was young. He had studied the portraits of all nascent soul cultivators in the Zeus Star region carefully. He had studied them carefully. Seeing the red gourd, he immediately recognized the man's identity, especially Zhou-Yi's peculiar hobby, which made Chi-Hu remember him particularly well. Just how much does Hong Dai hate the undead? Even when possessed by Grand Elder Shiringzhong, she's willing to drag the undead down with her. Picking up where we left off. As everyone knows, undead, Chi-Hu, and Hong Dai, the three who didn't obtain the immortal domain coffin, arrived at the second level of the overlapping immortal realm fragment. But what they didn't expect was that the cave dwelling was completely empty. However, Zhou-Yi, one of the 5 elements 7 variants, appeared before them. Zhou-Yi smiled slightly, his gaze sweeping over Hong Dai and finally settling on Wang Lin. He slowly said, "Little guy, your reactions are quite astute. You must have noticed something along the way." Wang Lin respectfully replied, this junior only felt something amiss, but wasn't entirely certain. A hint of appreciation flashed in Zhou-Yi's eyes. He continued, "There is an entrance to the 3rd level here, beneath this pool. If you all aren't afraid of death, you can follow." But before he could finish, a figure descended from the ceiling of the cave. The figure hovered in midair. Looking closely, it was a white-haired old man. Zhou-Yi's face darkened as he looked directly at the old man, coldly asking, "What are your intentions in following us here?" The old man laughed in response, no malicious intent, just quite interested in that 3rd level. Zhou-Yi snorted coldly. He stomped his foot. With a boom, the pool seemed to explode, revealing a cave. He then flashed, diving into the cave like lightning. The old man followed close behind. Seeing this, Hong Dai gritted her teeth. In her eyes, they had suffered heavy losses. She was unwilling to return empty-handed. So she followed as well. Chi-Hu looked at Undead, asking with a wry smile, "Brother Xing, are you planning to explore together or leave now?" Undead's expression was indifferent. He asked in return, "Brother Chi-Hu, who is that Zhou-Yi?" Chi-Hu's face turned grave as he informed Undead through voice transmission, "So, that person is one of the rare 7 variants of the Vermilion Bird Star, Old Monster Zhou-Yi. His cultivation is unfathomable, and he has a peculiar hobby, which is refining corpses." Wang Lin was stunned. "Refining corpses?" Chi-Hu quickly added, "Brother Xing, I plan to go and investigate. Why don't we go together?" Undead nodded in agreement. The two then flew one after the other towards the cave deep within the pool. Wang Lin saw Hong Dai not far away, using a gourd to collect immortal qi. Seeing this, a hint of joy flashed in Chihu's eyes. Without a word, he took out a 1,000-pace pouch from his storage bag. Wang Lin took out the Shieling Tomb fragment. The three of them collected immortal qi in this way. However, the good times didn't last. A deafening roar echoed. Then, two beams of light, one after the other, rapidly approached where undead, Chihu, and Hong Dai were. Amidst cracking sounds, a large number of crystals shattered and flew up, being sucked into a vortex. The old man behind Zhou Yi quickly formed hand seals. Suddenly, a huge purplish-red coffin appeared behind him, appearing exceptionally eerie. Then, the old man slammed his palm onto the coffin. Instantly, several sharp, piercing sounds came from within the coffin. At the same time, a dense black qi surged out from the coffin, quickly condensing into a giant ghostly claw that lunged towards Zhou Yi. A deafening bang resounded. Then, the third level of the Immortal Realm fragment shook violently. The ground cracked and split apart. A large amount of immortal qi rapidly dissipated from these fissures. The immortal qi in this place vanished completely. The middle-aged man, Zhou Yi, shouted to Grand Elder Shiringzhong, "If you and I truly fight, I'm afraid no fragment of the celestial realm will be spared." Hearing this, the old man's expression slightly changed. Suddenly, his figure vanished from the coffin. When he reappeared, he was quietly standing behind Hong Dai. Hong Dai abruptly turned around. She saw the old man giving her a sinister smile. "Little girl, lend me your body." Before he finished speaking, several streams of black qi surged out from the old man's 7 orifices. Like small snakes, they quickly burrowed into Hong Dai's body. For the first time, Hong Dai showed a look of panic. She quickly raised her right hand, revealing a jade bracelet on her wrist. "Senior, do you recognize this?" The old man's gaze fell upon it. The 1 yuan auspicious bracelet, only worn by core disciples of the Vermilion Bird Kingdom. Hong Dai said, her voice trembling, "Senior, this bracelet is closely linked to my primordial spirit. If something happens to me, the bracelet will immediately detonate, and this fragment of the celestial realm will surely collapse. Even if you manage to escape, there will be no safe haven left on Vermilion Bird Star. So, this bracelet is a symbol of the Vermilion Bird Star's core disciples. If any holder is harmed, the Vermilion Bird Kingdom will use special methods to track down the killer." The old man frowned upon hearing this. He snorted and said reassuringly, "Don't worry, little girl, I have no intention of taking your life." He then turned to the middle-aged man, Zhou Yi, and continued, "Zhou Yi, I intend to borrow this girl's body to have a match with you. This way, we can avoid the celestial realm fragment exceeding its critical point." Zhou Yi's face darkened. He questioned, "What are you really up to?" The old man responded with a cold laugh, "You possess the remains of a celestial. My sense of smell is keen, I can't be wrong. What I want is that corpse." However, a dragon has its reverse scale. Touching it incurs wrath. For Zhou Yi, that corpse was his reverse scale. A strange glint flashed in Zhou Yi's eyes. He then pointed at Chihu and commanded, "Little one, come here." Chihu's expression changed drastically. After a moment of hesitation, he slowly flew towards Zhou Yi. Zhou Yi said calmly, "Become my avatar. As long as you obey, not only will your life be spared, but you will also comprehend my martial Dao intent." Chihu hesitated for a moment, but ultimately gave up resisting. As time passed, his eyes grew brighter, and the aura around him surged. "Haha, how interesting. I chose an innate martial arts physique, and you picked an ancient bloodline giant demon. As for this ordinary person, he's useless." The old man glared at the wraith as he laughed. The wraith remained indifferent, unfazed by the old man's threat. He simply glanced at him coldly and turned to leave. But at this moment, Hong Dai suddenly spoke, "Senior, I implore you to act. If you can eliminate him, I will give up resistance and assist you." The old man chuckled softly and raised his right hand to grab the wraith. The wraith's expression remained calm. With a flick of his sleeve, a golden fan appeared in his hand. He said with a hint of mockery, "Hong Dai, if you want to watch this place crumble, you can try touching this golden fan." The old man's eyes lit up at the sight of the fan. He involuntarily took a deep breath. He thought to himself, just one more restriction, and I'll have a complete set of 99. Once I reach 99, it will surely trigger a heavenly tribulation. In the celestial realm, such a tribulation is a celestial tribulation. Its power is enough to bring devastation to this place. Thinking of this, a hint of apprehension flashed in the old man's eyes. He quickly withdrew his hand. Continuing from last time, as everyone knows, during the Celestial Maiden's assistance, the Grand Elder of the Shi-Ing sect followed Zhou Yi and also arrived at the second level of the overlapping Celestial Realm fragment. But his objective wasn't the Celestial Realm, but the Celestial Corpse that Zhou Yi kept by his side. Because Tinger is not only the reason for Zhou Yi's defiance of age, but also where his heart lies. So, he will absolutely not allow anyone to take Tinger away from him. As Zhou Yi borrowed Shihu's body, a powerful aura immediately emanated from him. At this moment, his imposing manner resembled a divine warrior. And closely following behind him, an illusory figure appeared, which was the image of the middle-aged Zhou Yi. On the other hand, Hong Dai's face was completely covered by a purplish-black aura. Waves of deathly energy emanated from his body, filling the surroundings, creating an eerie atmosphere. With Chihu's enraged roar, his massive body moved instantly, charging towards Hong Dai with lightning speed. Seeing this, Hong Dai quickly formed hand seals, and the deathly energy rapidly condensed into a longbow. Just as Chihu was about to reach him, Hong Dai grabbed the longbow and drew the string taut. A gray energy arrow shot out, colliding head-on with Chihu. A loud bang echoed. Due to both of them limiting their cultivation, the Celestial Realm fragment didn't shatter extensively. But even so, the profoundness of the heavenly laws contained within the attack far surpassed the nascent soul stage. Chihu's body suddenly shuddered, and he stumbled back dozens of feet, blood gushing from his mouth. At the same time, the illusory figure of Zhou Yi behind him quickly formed hand seals, chanting a strange incantation. In an instant, the sky suddenly darkened and strange energies quickly converged in front of Chihu. Seeing this, the onlookers sighed inwardly. The method with which the Nether Palace cultivators manipulate the power of heaven and earth was clearly more sophisticated than the nascent soul cultivators' simple borrowing. Just then, the figure behind Hong Dai instantly turned into a wisp of green smoke and completely merged into Hong Dai's crown. Hong Dai let out a few unconscious groans of pain. Then 4 colorful spiritual bodies suddenly burst forth from his body, forming a solid barrier. Because Hong Dai's earth spirit of the 5 elements was absorbed by the onlooker's heavenly inverse bead, there were only 4 spirits here. After the 4 spiritual bodies appeared, Chihu suddenly let out a deafening roar. The decaying mark on his forehead flickered madly, finally transforming into a majestic giant axe. He gripped the axe tightly and charged towards Hong Dai with large strides. Unknowing intent, born from devotion to love, can reach true intent. This devotion can shake heaven and earth. Chihu, upon seeing your body today, I shall let you comprehend the intent I haven't displayed for 1,000 years. Suddenly, a strange intent enveloped Chihu. His expression also became solemn and sacred. It turns out that Zhou Yi's devotion is not limited to people, but can also be attached to objects. Shihu's devotion is this axe. At this moment, his Tao heart merged with the axe. As long as the axe doesn't regret, the battle will never cease. The onlookers were shocked, instantly understanding the figure behind this poetic intent. At that moment, a faint light flickered in Hong Dai's eyes. He lightly tapped his forehead, and a rose appeared. But this rose was no longer the red of the western regions, but had turned black. He tore off the rose's stamen and petals and tossed them into the air. Using the 4 spirits of heaven and earth, he merged them into one, forming a powerful vortex. Then, from Hong Dai's forehead, a wisp of green smoke curled upwards, instantly transforming into a parrot-like man. He moved and merged into the vortex. In a flash, the vortex transformed into a monstrous being with a single horn on its head and fangs protruding from its mouth. He opened his massive maw in a silent roar. At that moment, Chi-Hu swung his axe. A dazzling light sliced through the sky. The monster roared again and struck with its palm. A tremendous boom echoed through the camp. In an instant, everything crumbled. It dissipated into golden motes of light. At this moment, the old man sitting cross-legged on the coffin shuddered. He coughed up a mouthful of black blood. His entire being appeared listless and weak, as if he had lost all his power. Chi-Hu's body trembled violently. He stared at his now empty right hand. This sky-opening axe had been his belief, his support, his battle support. With the axe's destruction, Zhou Yi's sure family's crimson intent within him also dissipated. A flicker of clarity flashed in Chi-Hu's eyes. But immediately afterward, an unbearable pain surged through his body. He finally collapsed weakly to the ground. Wang Lin witnessed all of this, unconsciously gasping. He wondered to himself, what kind of heart have I obtained? Not long after, Hong Dai and Chi-Hu regained consciousness. Zhou Yi's ethereal form slowly returned to his body from the void. Just as he was about to fully descend, a giant ghostly claw suddenly reached out from the void, lunging at Zhou Yi. At the very moment the ghostly claw was about to make contact, he managed to dodge the fatal blow, but his abdomen was still grazed by the claw. Blood gushed out. However, the ghostly claw's true target wasn't Zhou Yi, but his storage pouch. The storage pouch burst apart under the claw's strike. Countless treasures scattered, and a pagoda among them was snatched by the ghostly claw. Zhou Yi's eyes were bloodshot. Ignoring his grievous abdominal wound, he let out a heart-wrenching cry. The sound seemed to pierce the heavens, shattering hearts. Without hesitation, he abandoned his physical body, his nascent soul shooting out in pursuit of the pagoda. At this moment, he had only one thought: Ting Er. I will never let anyone take you away. Without the control of his nascent soul, Zhou Yi's physical body instantly lost its life force. Blood continued to flow as he collapsed weakly to the ground. But for Ting Er, he was willing to sacrifice everything, even his own physical body. Thousands of years of companionship and deep affection made it impossible for him to tolerate anyone taking Ting Er away from him. Day after day of pouring out his heart, year after year of being together, these memories filled Zhou Yi with pain and fueled his boundless madness. At that moment, Zhou Yi's nascent soul sped forth like lightning. However, at this crucial juncture, the old man on the coffin abruptly opened his eyes. With a flash, he intercepted Zhou Yi's nascent soul. Zhou Yi, I must admit, you are truly extraordinary. Given another 1,000 years, reaching the ascendancy realm wouldn't be impossible for you. But you are unaware that I possess 3 souls. You only destroyed one of them. How could you possibly kill me? Yan Da's ghostly claw behind him flickered, transforming into a young man who looked remarkably similar to the old man. And clutched tightly in his hand was the pagoda. At this moment, Zhou Yi's eyes blazed with uncontainable madness. He stared at the old man and roared, "Give Ting Er back to me." Can Zhou Yi reclaim his Ting Er? Please give us a like, fellow Taoists. We'll continue in the next episode.